The first flutter in her belly made Priya's heart leap with joy. It was faint, like the delicate brush of a butterfly's wing against her insides. Her hands flew to her abdomen, trembling slightly as she felt the soft swell beneath the folds of her sari. A smile spread across her face, one that felt too big for her body, as though her skin couldn't contain the hope rising within her. After 2 years of marriage and countless sleepless nights spent staring at the ceiling in silent prayer, she was finally going to be a mother. She and Rohan had tried everything. Fasts on Mondays, tying sacred threads on banyan trees, even walking barefoot to the temple at the edge of the forest every full moon. Some had whispered that their union was cursed, that the childless couple was paying for sins they didn't know they'd committed. But none of that mattered now. A baby was on its way. Their village in rural Maharashtra didn't have the luxuries of modern hospitals. There were no ultrasound machines, no glossy black and white prints of the baby to hang on the fridge. The midwife, a stern woman named Aji, who had delivered generations of children, confirmed the pregnancy with an ancient method, suspending a needle on a thread over Priya's urine sample. When the needle turned slightly, she nodded solemnly. "Positive," she declared, as if delivering a prophecy. Word spread quickly. Neighbors brought sweets. Elders offered advice Priya didn't ask for. Women touched her stomach and said she was glowing, predicting the gender with old wives' tales. Her skin was too clear for it to be a girl. It had to be a boy. Priya basked in the attention. She wrote lesson plans for her school children in the mornings and embroidered baby clothes by oil lamp in the evenings. She began humming to her belly, whispering dreams into the darkness of her womb. She dreamed of lullabies, of little feet pattering on the floor, of Rohan swinging a giggling child onto his shoulders. But underneath the joy, something simmered. By her 5th month, while other mothers were sharing tales of wild kicks and rolling somersaults, Priya's child barely stirred. She noticed at first while bathing one morning the quiet stillness of her belly. Sometimes she'd press her palm against the curve and wait, counting to 50. Nothing, just silence and skin. Aji told her not to worry. Not all babies are rowdy, maybe it's a shy one. So Priya swallowed her unease and went on. But the movements when they came didn't feel right. They weren't kicks, they were glides. Sluggish turns like something repositioning itself lazily. And then the ripple, a strange alien wave that moved across her stomach one evening as she lay half asleep. It didn't feel like a baby. It felt like something trying to crawl. At night, she dreamt of water. Dark, endless water, where something floated just beneath the surface, watching her. Once, she dreamt of a tiny face pressed against the inside of her skin, mouth opening in a silent scream. Still, she said nothing. Not to Rohan, not to Aji. This was supposed to be a miracle. It wasn't until her 7th month during an arithmetic lesson at school that everything collapsed. She was at the blackboard, chalk in hand, when a sudden gush soaked her legs. It was warm and thick and brown. The smell hit her first, pungent, like wet earth left too long in the sun. The children screamed. She clutched her belly, doubling over, gasping for air. The ambulance arrived late, the hospital ride bumpy and painful. By the time they reached the regional hospital, Priya was half conscious, her saray soaked, her legs trembling uncontrollably. The delivery room was dim, with buzzing fluorescent lights and peeling paint. Rohan arrived, breathless and frantic, just as the nurses began preparing for delivery. Something was wrong. No one said it, but she could feel it in their hands, their glances. The doctor, young, serious, sweating under his coat, examined her and paused. Then the pushing began. It was excruciating, not just physically, but in spirit. Priya pushed, cried, screamed. And when the head finally appeared, the doctor's face went pale. No one spoke. The thing that emerged from her body was not a baby. It was a mass, a monstrous thing with grayish, translucent skin and patches of black hair clinging to malformed scalp. Its limbs were twisted. Its face. God, its face. Misshapen, eyes sunken or missing, mouth agape with several small yellowed teeth. Its skin was slick with fluid. Its fingers were there, tiny and curled, but wrong, tipped with ragged nails, grasping at nothing. Someone screamed. Maybe Rohan. Maybe her. It didn't matter. The doctor moved fast, covering it with a sheet. But Priya had seen enough. Later, under cold fluorescent lights, she was told the truth. Fetus in fetu, an extremely rare condition where a parasitic twin develops inside the host twin's body during their own gestation. In her case, it had been embedded within her abdomen for her entire life. Silent, dormant, waiting. The hormonal changes brought on by her pregnancy had awakened it. Not a pregnancy at all, a mass. A memory of a sibling that never should have been. This wasn't your child, the doctor said softly. This was part of you. She didn't speak, couldn't. What was there to say? Recovery was slow, but the mental wounds were far worse. In the village, they said she had birthed a monster. The midwife refused to speak of it. Rohan tried to comfort her, but he too had changed. He looked at her with sorrow now, and sometimes with fear. At night, Priya would awaken with her hand on her belly, still expecting the soft flutter of movement. Instead, there was emptiness. Her dreams changed too. She no longer saw water, but mirrors. Dozens of mirrors reflecting her face, and in each one, something moved just behind her shoulder. A shadow. A malformed smile. The real blow came at the follow-up exam. Too much internal scarring. Damage from the removal. Her womb could no longer support a normal pregnancy. The doctor didn't say the word barren, but he didn't need to. Priya went home and locked herself in the room that had been meant for the nursery. She stayed there for days, staring at the tiny clothes she'd sewn by hand, the blue mittens, the crocheted socks. She couldn't bring herself to throw them away. Months passed. The world moved on, but Priya did not. Now she lives quietly, teaches again, but with less warmth. She avoids mirrors, never touches her abdomen, keeps the ultrasound images, those twisted shadows, in a locked drawer. On some nights, she unlocks it and stares at the scans, tracing the lines with a trembling finger, wondering how something could grow for 25 years and remain hidden. And she wonders, too, if that thing, her twin, had thoughts. If it dreamed when she did. If it resented her for surviving. Sometimes she still hears it at night. Not a sound, but a sensation. A flutter? A roll? As if something inside her had never really left. Because the miracle wasn't that it died. The horror was that it lived. And that maybe, just maybe, it still does.